Beautiful afternoon here in Minnesota. We get the F600 driving on the road without brakes, and I figure it's time to go over the chassis and lubricate everything properly. So I got out the reproduction Ford truck manual, got out to part 16-1, and it's got a 28-point list of things that you need to lubricate on this truck. One of the reasons I got this truck as opposed to any other medium duty is that it's super simple and there's very little going on in there, so there's very little to go wrong. That doesn't mean that there's not stuff to lubricate or stuff to maintain, and it's a little bit more to maintain than a normal pickup truck. To keep the DIY flavor of this channel, I'm going to try to do this all with regular garage tools. Maybe I'll have to buy a socket or something, but we have our normal oil catch cans over here. We have a bucket of 80-90 gear lube. We have 1030 oil, conventional, and then ZDDP additive from Lucas. Keep that camshaft in good operation. And there are some callings for penetrating oil and graphite solution, or a kerosene graphite, I don't know. So I'm gonna use this instead. But that's pretty much it. I have just my sockets and wrenches here. Let's get started. The lubrication schedule is broken up into intervals, so we're going to do the first 4 lubrication points are on the 1,000 mile interval. First, we have to lubricate the exhaust control valve on the 6-cylinder and the 292Y block without ram's horn manifold. I have a 262, and that uses a forward solvent and penetrating fluid COAA 19A501A, or a mixture of kerosene and graphite. We're going to use Deep Creep instead. Here you can see the driver's side of the engine. Now here's the exhaust control valve. It's like a little thermostat spring, and then we have a rotating weight on the other side. So that'll block off the exhaust and warm up the intake manifold when the engine's cold. So we just want to take a little oil here, and that's supposed to be that graphite crap, whatever that is. Just throw a little lubricant on there. We already did this. Sometimes they're frozen up, but this one's pretty free, so cool, done. Number 2 says lubricate the clutch linkage with 10 weight oil. And I'm an idiot, so I forgot to mention we also have the wheel bearing and chassis grease and a grease gun, and then we have the little also grease gun thing with 3-in-1 oil. I'm going to use the 3-in-1 oil as 10 weight, and we'll go do that clutch linkage. The intermediate shaft here has a Zerk fitting on it, so I'm going to throw the grease gun on there. See if it'll take a little. Nope. All right, let's get some heat on that thing. There's a little bit of gunk in the top end that looks like it was blocking the ball. Oh, there we go. Get it thrown back in. Let's pop this off and check our work. There's grease going inside, so I'm gonna call that successful. There's a lot coming out the sides, which I don't like, but I know something's going in there. Might have to get a new Zerk and throw on there. You can see on the clutch arm there's another point of contact. We're gonna lubricate that when we adjust the linkage again. The third point is to check the level of oil in the Eaton 2-speed rear axle. We can see over here that we actually do have oil because there's a pinion seal that's leaking on the ground, but I'm going to go through it anyway and pull this plug out. It apparently doesn't want to go in. Okay, there we go. It's a little bit low. We'll get back to that. We also want to check the breather. Well, I got some gunk out of it with a pick, and then I blew some air through, and it flows air, so it's going back in. Number 4, we check the manual transmission fluid level and the breather. I don't know where the breather is right now. It's supposed to be where the PTO would go, and then this is a transmission brake that operates with a handbrake lever. Oh, that's actually got fluid in it. Sweet. Next is our 4,000 mile interval, And the fifth thing we're going to check is the clutch and brake master cylinder fluid level. Now this has a manual lever operated clutch, and currently the brake system is in pieces. So I'm not going to check those, but normally you would want to check the brake fluid. Number 6, clean engine PCV system. The first point in our PCV system is the air intake and the breather on this oil filler cap. So I'm going to take that out and spray it out with some acetone. At the rear of the engine block, we have this cylinder here, and that's the PCV valve that lets pressurized gases from the crankcase come out and vent all the way through the intake here. So we have to, I think, get that off and clean it out. I gotta figure out how to break that. You see that 3/4 inch nut loose on the top of the PCV valve. That worked. I was so close to giving up on this thing. Wow, what a pain. I finally got this thing off. The bolt that went through it is pretty nasty, actually. A lot of sludgy looking stuff in there. I don't know if we can even see in this thing, but I'm gonna try to blow some acetone through it, just like the others, and clean it up. Project creep, noun, slang. Number 7, Lubricate Distributor. There's a little oil cup on the side of the distributor that needs a few drops now and then. That'll soak in, huh? Number 8, change engine oil and filter. Now I really want to get some sludge out of this engine. I changed the oil after I got it running for the first time in January, but I think I need to warm it up and get it really warm before it comes out of there to make sure I get all the gunk out. Since I have the PCV valve off, I'm going to wait on that till I get everything back buttoned up, and we'll do that later. Of course, number 9 is clean the oil bath air cleaner. So I'm going to put the old engine oil from the engine into the air cleaner. Let's go to number 10. Number 10 says lube the front axle spindle bolts, which you might know as Kingpins. It's taken a while here. A lot of pumps. These things might be... Oh, there we go. They're coming out now. Sweet. Let's go do the top one now. All right. Oh, that's coming out nice right there. Sweet. That was quick. Sweet. 11 says lubricate the steering linkage. And yeah, the tire does rub on this apparently. But wait, there's more. We also have these tie rod ends and a giant tie rod bar here. Grease in those. I don't know if it's actually even taking. Nope, not taking. Sweet, let's pull it out. Just needed to burn a little out of there. She's flowing good. All right. This does need to be replaced at some point, but it's got grease. Let's move on to the passenger side. Will this one take grease? Oh, what a sweetheart. There we go. There it is on the back. This episode is sponsored by the Japanese classic car coloring book, illustrated by me, printed in the USA. It has over 20 coloring pages of your favorite Japanese cars from Honda, Toyota, Nissan, Subaru, Suzuki, and more. It's a great gift for artistic youngsters and even adults. LinearDesign.com. 12. Lubricate U-joints and slip yokes. We have 3 U-joints, 1, 2, 3. Then the slip yoke is right here. Oh, hey, it's actually working. Where's it gonna come out? Oh, I can see it actually pushing out on the yoke, and that's coming out in by the U-joint. Now we have a U-joint here that has a Zerk on it. Throw some in that. That's not happy. Should be able to see up here is where the grease came out from that yoke, right here. And then here's where we took the Zerk out of the U-joint, and that has something in there, but it doesn't look like it's fresh grease. What I've been doing with these is just torching them, and then they start to spew out all the old grease. Yeah, sooner or later, sometimes they poop out a little grease turd. Let's get this front one real quick. And there's some coming out. Great. Rear U-joint is on the bottom because of course it is. Sweet. 13, lubricate the spring shackle bolts on the front and rear. We actually did this when we reinstalled the springs this spring. Couldn't hurt to do again though, right? Coming out the middle on the inside now. That's cool. Inside. Sweet. Alright, this front one obviously has seen a little grease over the years, so that's good. Got it coming out the inside here. Right in there. Awesome. This one's gotten grease too, obviously. That Zerk is loose though. Let's tighten that thing up. Will it take? Heck yeah, it will. Side note, check out the body on this thing. Sweet, right? We're now up to the 8,000 mile interval, and number 14 is lubricate accelerator control linkage pivots with SAE 10. Got a control linkage in there. 15, lubricate transmission, clutch, brake, and parking brake linkage pivots in Clevis. That's a lot of things, but we're going to use 3-in-1 oil again. Oh, 16 is hood hinges. Let's do those right now. All right. I've got the accelerator pedal up here. I don't believe there are any pivots in the transmission aside from what's already in there. But we got a parking brake here. So that can probably use a little in the top here. That's a real thumb buster when you go forward. There's no room for your thumb. I'll also throw a little bit on everything down here, I guess. Properly lubricated. Maybe not adjusted very well, but that's okay. 18, lubricate front and rear spring leaves. Dripless penetrating oil. What does that even mean? Now, when we did the springs on this, we looked up the different types of springs and whether to lubricate the leaves independently before they're assembled into the spring pack. And what we found is supposedly the type of spring steel used after around World War II should be some kind of like self-lubricating or something. So I don't know, I guess I'll just drip some of the 3-in-1 in there and see. I don't know. If you know what they're talking about, please let me know in the comments. 19, check steering gear lubricant level. Looks like we have this Gemmer steering gear, and the lube filler plug is right there on the top. They call for 80-90 oil. Oh yeah, that's better. Sweet. 20, check the oil level in the shift unit of the rear axle. This is a 2-speed rear axle, so we have a shift unit right here in the kind of silver color, and that operates the planetary gearing inside to give you a gear reduction, so you can basically split shift and turn 4 speeds into 8 speeds. So there's a little tiny hole on the bottom, and that is where you check the oil level, and then you put 10W in there. You got a flathead screw, because of course we do. Oh, jeez. Number 21 is actually the same as number 20, but it's in the 10,000 mile interval. That's check the 2-speed rear axle shift unit oil level. We just did that. Oh, that's for 100 to 500 series, never mind. So I guess on the 600 series and up, you have to check the shift unit oil level 2,000 miles sooner. Okay. 22, clean and lubricate vacuum brake booster air cleaner. I'll show you that real quick. We're going to go painfully in depth into this in the next video, but usually there's a vacuum booster that sits right here underneath the cab. And that gets fed by a single pod master cylinder on the firewall, and basically the vacuum booster does boosty things, and then you get better brakes. So the inlet air for the vacuum booster comes up a tube into the cabin through this hole, and then it has a little canister air filter. Let's go look at that. I'm gonna wait to clean this until I'm ready for the whole brake reassembly and building a brake system for this thing. So we'll act like we did this, and if you have it, you can do it too. 23, lubricate door striker plates. It says use stick wax. I'm using paraffin wax that I just got out of a pile here. I don't know if that's gonna work too well. This stuff is really hard to work with right now. Number 24, we changed the manual transmission fluid. Where's my catch can? Bloop. Oh, it is a little bit dark, isn't it? No sparkles. That's excellent. No chunks. Ah, the pungent odor of gear oil. Mmm. Oh, there we go. Sweet. The pumping is not over because now I have to change the rear axle oil for number 25. Look at that pattern, it's almost like a pyramid. Really thick crap. I had to drain my memory card too, so we are about plumb out of light anyway. We'll fill this thing up and pick her up another time. Okay. That one's done. I just gotta wait for it to all drip out the pinion seal. We're back next weekend. I painted the PCV valve this week, so let's go throw that in, get the engine warmed up, change the oil, and I can throw a little exhaust sealing tape on that exhaust too because I put a muffler on it. I remember last time we tried to move the truck, it wouldn't stay running. So I threw some gas in it, about a gallon of gas. Put the e-brake on. Let's see if it starts this time. We got our choke partially on still, and the temp is coming up to 115 here. Fuel says it's at 1/8 of a tank, but our oil and generator lights are off, so sweet. See if we can throw the choke down a little since it's warming up. It starts misfiring a little bit. I don't know what that's about. This should be fun. We'll see what happens. The oil wasn't bad when it came out in January. Considering this has very little run time, it's pretty gross, but considering that it's also flushing a lot of gunk out from sitting for a long time, I'm pretty impressed with it, so that's good. Now we can try it for the filter. It's honestly so far up there that you kind of want to take it off from the top. Pre-filling it was a mistake. Well, that oil has to drop so far from the engine because the engine's so high that it makes for a pretty messy oil change. But let's fill her up again and see how that goes. I'm just gonna pour the zinc stuff right into the oil. How many quarts does this take? I don't even know. Yeah, I'll just fill it up. While I'm waiting for this to fill up, this is one of the coolant lines that I restored with the installation of the radiator and the upper rad hose. I think this is the Subaru Legacy rad hose. And to coat this like this, we actually coated it completely with linseed oil and then baked it in the oven for a couple hours. I think it's like an hour at 400, but essentially the same process as treating a cast iron cooking pan. Did that to the thermostat housing as well, and the other little hose down there. So if you're looking for a way to coat these, it seems to hold up pretty well right now, and since it's oil, it's not gonna dry out really, so an interesting option for coating. Really cheap too. PCV was number 6. And then we changed the engine oil filter, that was number 8. And we got to skip forward to where we were last time. We already changed the rear axle oil. Now it's time to number 26, lubricate door hinges and latch rotors with 10W. We got a door hinge in here, and I'm just gonna shoot some oil in and hope it goes somewhere, because I can't really see where that's supposed to go. It'll get in there. Then we got our latch rotor here. I assume you just throw some oil on that. Maybe up inside. And she's dripping down. Number 27 is lubricate door lock cylinders with forward lock lubricant B4A19587A. I'm going to use graphite. I use this for padlocks and bike U-locks and everything, so let's try this in the truck locks. Full disclosure, I don't have keys for this, so I'm just kind of doing this for the video. And when I go and get a new cab that doesn't have rust everywhere, then I'll get a matching set of locks with keys in them that I'll match. Looks like that doesn't have a lock for some reason. That's weird. Not a big deal. Well, that's done, I guess. 28 is to repack and adjust front and rear wheel bearings, except F100. And that's it. Since I'm going to be rebuilding the entire brake system almost from scratch in the matter of probably this winter, I'm not going to worry about the wheel bearings right now. I'll take them out when everything else is off, the truck's on jack stands already, and it'll be a lot easier there and a lot less work overall. Just know, if you're doing this by yourself and you are not doing the brakes, you got to pull those wheel bearings out. That's the full 28-point lubrication schedule for this truck over the Of course, I think a 10,000 mile interval. Of course, the PCV valve, you could argue that isn't really a lubrication, but I think it's good to get it done, and I'm glad to be able to give this truck a little bit of love that it deserves. Keep an eye out, subscribe for the brake rebuild and all kinds of other stuff with this truck. There's a lot of work to be done around here. Thanks for joining me, and press on.